Hello guys, welcome here to Sunday Morning Tinkle. Sorry, we're still having technical issues. I don't know exactly why the cameras aren't updating at real-time speed. So might be just a computer issue. I tried to clean it out today and it looks like it's a little bit better today from my end. So hopefully it's better on your guys' end as well. Before we get going, of course, coming up on the show, we'll talk about our new segment, Media's Worst Take of the Week. And boy, do we have a good one this week. Of course, then some news on some Chiefs players returning. We'll talk about what happened Monday night on the Monday night game. A certain player now out for the season. Not really a worst kept secret, or not even a best kept secret. And then, of course, a tinkle on this following up on that story. So we'll begin, of course. I'll let Jason take it from here.
Yeah, it's a very interesting new rule that has come in play for the NBA season. I know, that's not until October. We're in September. We're mostly in football season, but I think this is definitely something that's huge heading into the start of NBA season. As we already noted, it's an in-season tournament. Well, now there's a new rule against arresting players, which has been a big thing for the NBA for a couple of years now. Load management. NBA has been wanting to try to go against it. Well, now they have officially made new rules on it. So new rules are in place that no more than one star player is unavailable for the same game. They're talking about a star being somebody that has made the All-Pro 3 years in a row. So, for instance, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. So if they can't have both of them unavailable for the same game. And so they want to try to make it where say if Luka has to sit down, that Kyrie Irving has to be made available for that said game. They can't have them both sitting out the same game, or vice versa. Kyrie Irving sitting out and Luka Doncic made available. But yeah, teams must ensure that star players are available for national televised and in-season tournament games. That one seems a little interesting. That they have to be made available.
Well, let's be
for national televised and in-season tournament games.
Well, let's be fair, because the media is paying a lot of money. The big media, ESPN, TNT, and all of them, they're paying big money to broadcast these games. Okay? So, even more important for them to be playing in these games, whether or not the matchup is favorable or not, they should be playing in them. Because, otherwise,
right. No, I agree.
Otherwise it's a ratings killer. So, I agree with that aspect of it.
Yeah, I do too. And then also next, teams must maintain a balance between a number of one-game absences for a star player and home games and road games, with a preference for those absences to happen in home games instead of road games. Wouldn't you think that it would be better for them to be absent for road games, not home games?
Well, if you're
just saying.
Well, you've got fans on the road that are coming to visit, so, and that that dictates the ticket prices for other teams. So if, say, going to the NFL side of things, because I don't watch the NBA, obviously, if Josh Allen is playing versus Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs at home, and Patrick Mahomes sits out, just willingly on a Week 13 matchup that could dictate the top seed, I mean, not for nothing, ticket prices are going to plummet on that.
True.
Because why are we coming, why would any fan go to the game knowing that Patrick Mahomes isn't going to play, if that's the case? So, if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers and you're hosting the Golden State Warriors, why would you justify for a fan, why would you justify paying to go to that game to watch Steph Curry versus, if he's not playing there? So
True.
again, I agree with that aspect too.
Teams must refrain from any long-term shutdown or near shutdown. Um, I kind of do like that in the sense that, you know, like especially in terms of teams trying to like shut down their players because they're purposely tanking. I don't think that should happen at all. You know, because it
Yeah.
happens in all the professional sports where they will purposefully shut down a player to try to get the best favorable
Hmm.
position. For instance, kind of like what happened with Dallas as they were trying to get the best possible draft pick as they could within the top 10.
Hmm.
Because if they fell out of the top 10, they would have gone to the Knicks. But they got the 10th overall pick and actually was able to have it and not go to the Knicks. So that could be an instance of the Dallas Mavericks for a lot of other teams. For instance, look at the Arizona Cardinals. I mean,
Oh,
teams, yeah, teams must ensure that healthy players resting for a game are present and visible for fans. Which honestly, I do like that because just because their favorite player isn't playing doesn't mean that they shouldn't be visible for the fans and be able to, go there and see them and take pictures and get some autographs and stuff like that. So I do like that. This one's an interesting one. So they're trying to make it that if you're going for any league honors, that you must at least play in 65 regular season games, which is most of the season itself.
yep.
Which it should be like that. If you play like 50 games, you shouldn't be going after league honors just because you had a career year in those 50 games doesn't mean you should be like MVP. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, of
I
course.
do like that. Um, so this is the huge part of the new rules. The hefty fines that teams could be getting. So teams for the first violation will be fined $100,000 for the first violation. For the second violation, $250,000. Now you got to hear this for the third violation, which I don't think teams ever want to. They would have to pay $1.25 million for the third violation, and then if they continue to violate the new rules, the team will be fined an additional $1 million more than its previous penalty for any violations beyond the third.
Man.
The NBA ain't playing around with this. With these new resting
See,
rules at all.
I figured when you said they were going to increase the fines, I figured eventually, it'd get to the point where the coach gets suspended for a game. I was just waiting on that, but let me be fair. I agree with it to an extent. Because let's face it, and again, I hinted at number one, the ticket prices. The ticket prices are a big reason that I hint at it. And not to mention, let's talk about the bettors too, because what is it, like 30 or 40% of the states right now have legalized gambling in the states, including ours in New York. So,
Mm-hmm.
you could be placing bets, and keep in mind, I think a couple hours before it's not refundable. So, you could be placing bets. And then,
Players not even gonna play.
then a player could decide, an hour before, or they could decide, hey, we're not playing Steph Curry tonight. That could change the total outcome of not only the over-under, but it could also change the outcome of the money line. It could change the outcome of any same-game parlays, including a player's statistics. And if they're not playing,
Right.
now, I mean, or if they're playing limited minutes, a team could easily decide, not for nothing, why are we, one of those sports gambling sites could decide, well, we're not refunding you. You made that bet. So now you just lost $5 or you lost $10. Or if you're crazy like Mattress Mac in Houston, you probably spent $2 million on a bet. So,
Right.
just, again, I think a lot of it comes down to those two things. The tickets, ticket sales and the bettors.
And then I was also going to say this too. I didn't really want to write it all down, but I will say this last one. So, the last one itself. So there's an exception. The NBA will allow pre-approved designated back-to-back allowances for players who are 35 years old on opening night or have career workloads of 34,000 regular season minutes or 1,000 regular season and playoff games combined, sources said. And one of those players that meet the exception is LeBron James himself. So
he's exempt from that rule.
He's exempt from it.
It makes sense seeing that he's ever since he sprained that ankle, he's not been really the same in a way. Because it flares up on occasion, so I get it. Being 39, being over 35 in the league, eventually it just takes a toll on your body.
Right.
So I agree with that provision, especially because, LeBron's dealt with that ankle injury really the last 3 years.
Yeah, and he hasn't really been. I mean, he's still been very impactful of a player. Look how far the Lakers got last year before, getting ultimately knocked out by the Denver Nuggets. They made it to the Western Conference Finals, faced off against the Nuggets, who I think that they faced off against in the 2020 COVID year playoffs too. I think it was Nuggets and Lakers in Western Conference Finals. The Lakers beat the Nuggets to go to the finals and beat the Miami Heat. So Nuggets got a little bit of revenge there and was able to beat the Lakers to get to the finals and ultimately win it against.
I think it was against the Heat.
Miami Heat. Yeah. So, it's not that I'm not opposed to these rules, but it kind of seems like they can be a little harsh in a way. Especially the fines. I think the fines are a little harsh, but I get it. They want to try to make it where a lot of these players don't sit out very often because there will be a lot of players that will sit out because of load management.
Well, I'll be fair too, and I'm going to bring in a totally different element to this. You and I have had, on and off camera, some pretty heavy, sometimes aggressive debates about college football or college basketball and the ratings there. Okay, yeah. Let's face it. You and I won't see eye to eye on the college basketball, and I totally understand that. You like the NBA, I like college. There's no doubt the NBA has to be, I don't want to say furious, but they got to be feeling the pressure because it feels like there's at least 5 or 6 March Madness games, including the national championship itself, that draw insane ratings, easily wipe they wipe the floor with the NBA. And there's games that I think on the NBA schedule have the potential to draw better ratings in the regular season than 2 or 3 of those two or three of those college basketball games. Okay, at least 2 or 3. And I feel like that's a bit of an overstatement, but let's face it, once you get to the Final Four of the national championship, those are the 2 games I think that are 100% the NBA is never going to beat in the regular season.
Right.
So, I think, and again, that's another area that they've got to kind of compete with.
Yeah, I would think that this is definitely about, stop losing money and ratings and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely something that the NBA was forced to eventually have to do. And it sucks it comes into this year to where there's so many changes heading in the year. There's the resting rules. There's a new in-season tournament. There's just a lot of that's going on for this whole entire 2023-2024 season itself. So, I mean, hopefully it'll be a good year for basketball in itself, but I don't know. It gets a little much. I can see where you're getting at with everything like that. I mean, I'm not saying that you're wrong with it. It's just still something, I get behind. I watch. I've liked it since,
Yeah.
late 2000s, early 2010s. It's something that I've been following and will probably follow for years to come afterwards. But I'm hoping for some success for NBA moving forward. They got to do something. I mean, I do get it that it gets annoying with a lot of what they do, but sometimes these kind of leagues got to have to implement these kind of rules just to keep everything fair and right and make sense. The in-season tournament, I'm not really supposedly the biggest fan of. I think it's stupid, but as far as it comes to these resting rules itself, I think it's something that eventually the NBA was gonna, try to control eventually, and I guess it makes sense that it's this year, not like 10 years in the future or something like that.
See, now, Skip, what they're doing is they're manufacturing drama. And yes, I did that on purpose. So, they're manufacturing drama with this. They're not trying to... What is it? They're not trying to, make it more difficult. What they're trying to do is manufacture the drama with the in-season tournament and with the 7 and 8 seed tournament that they do.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I mean, I'm all for it, but I mean, and here's the thing, I obviously host out of Turn 4 as well. No shocker there, that's a Captain Obvious statement. But, it's the same thing with NASCAR. In the stage cautions during the race, throwing a caution at, let's see, they're going to Bristol this weekend, or they were at Bristol last night. Throwing the caution at lap 125 to re-rack the field and, allow the television networks to get commercials in. That's manufactured drama. Adding in overtime restarts. Manufactured drama. It just seems like the NBA is trying to do that because... And again, I know you love the NBA, but... It feels like college basketball doesn't need to manufacture that drama to be a good platform, to be a good product. Now, that's why I like, though, this no-sitting rule, or this no-sitting or stars rule, because I think at the end of the day, it takes from the drama when they're not playing. It takes from the storylines, and especially on national TV. I mean, the last thing you want is to listen to Inside the NBA at the end of the night and hear Chuck and all them talk about how boring that game was, because they're not going to sugarcoat it. ESPN will always be, it was a great game despite the stars not playing. No, TNT's just going to say that game effing sucked.
Right. See, it kind of sucks that there has to be an exemption for older players. It does.
I get it, though.
Because, you do got to have load management for a lot of, like LeBron's not a spring chicken and he should have load management. But then you're gonna have all these players crying wolf and be like, well, it's not fair. He gets to be able to sell multiple games, but I can't, and I have a legitimate, I feel like it's gonna be terrible if it's like somebody that's got like a minor injury and can't really sit out these games because of it. So I think there's got to be some kind of, leeway in these rules because
I think they're more just dropping the hammers so that way teams get the message that it better be something serious if you're sitting out.
right.
I think it's more just the warning shot. Now, if they come out of the gates and like Steph Curry has a like bruised wrist or something, and they're like, okay, we're hitting you with the fine, and he clearly can't shoot like the same, then, then I'm going to be like, oh shit, like this is overly dramatic for no good reason.
Yeah, I think there is an exception
Okay,
to injuries itself, but yeah. I'm going to get on to my second and last takeaway. Buffalo is supposed to be more of a second half team than a first half team. In this game, they were more of a first half team, and it just didn't show up in the second half whatsoever. I think the 3 turnovers happened in the second half. I think he did have 1 turnover in the first half, and that was it. On a weird downhill throw where he was off balance, throwing it downfield, I think, for Gabe Davis, and then gets picked off. Got picked off by not once, not twice, but 3 times by the same player. You would think that you would try to avoid him after the second time, but nope. And then, fortunately, got the snap and then fumbled it afterwards. So 4 turnovers for Josh Allen didn't look like the very best game. I will say this now. I think that Bills were lucky to even get this game into overtime like they did. I will say that the defense definitely held Buffalo in this game for majority of the game until New York, they got the 3-point lead, and then Buffalo tied it, heading to overtime. Tyler Bass has ice cold veins in his body. I don't think there's a dull moment that he shies away from being able to be a very underrated kicker. And then as far as overtime, unfortunately, Josh Allen was 0-4 heading into that game in overtime. Well, it became 0-5 as they get the ball first and couldn't do anything. They went 3-and-out fast. Then New York got the ball and, ran it 62 yards for a return touchdown. But, NFL, I'm just going to say this now. If you're going to have this tripping penalty rule for 15 yards, you better be able to call it more frequently, because let me tell you something. I'm going to rant here. I'm really going to rant. If you saw that return touchdown, there was a blatant tripping penalty that the refs blatantly missed. I don't give a crap if, New York was still going to score. It was going to be a field goal. They probably were still going to win. You still got to call it. I don't care if it's overtime. I don't care if it means, the outcome of the game. You got to call it. You got to be better at calling these when they are supposed to happen. I think the refs need to go back to reffing school and figure out the damn rules before they play a game, before they ref a game, because I need to know what the hell even is a tripping penalty anymore. I really need to. Same thing with pass interference. Same thing with roughing the passer. We need to know what the hell actually determines those kind of penalties. Same thing with tripping. Tripping is supposed to be a personal foul 15-yard penalty. That would have negated a majority of the yards that guy got. Of course, it ended up being a touchdown, but they would have negated it at least to like the 40, 45-yard line. And at that point, you never know what Buffalo could have done. They could have, gotten New York to go 3-and-out and then got the ball back. You never know, or gotten pressure on Zach Wilson. You never know. Of course, we'll never know now because the game's over with, but again, I will say this as a Bills fan, Josh Allen, you need to be a little bit smarter with your decision making. If you know that you don't have a guy wide open, throw the ball out of bounds. It's better to take the loss of down than forcing the ball and getting a turnover. I don't know. In that game, you maybe could have used your legs, but be smart about it. Slide. Don't try to, bruise your body trying to get extra yardage for no reason. If I will say anything, I think Buffalo needs to try to depend on the ground game a little bit more, because I thought Buffalo was supposed to be better and not depend too much on Josh Allen. Well, in that game, there's a lot of depending on Josh Allen in that game, and you saw what happened. 4 turnovers. And unfortunately, 4 turnovers doesn't exactly mean you're going to win the game. I mean, we've seen weirder things happen in the NFL, but again, it was a tough loss for Buffalo. I guess I'm grateful that they even took it to overtime in the first place, but I had a strong feeling, well, you know what? Game's going into overtime. I don't think Buffalo's going to win. And what happened? Buffalo didn't win.
See, are you sure you wanted to waste your rant on that? Because I teased to you before the show recorded that I had a pretty brutal takeaway from this game. And I hinted at it 6 months ago. And I'm sorry, but this officially has confirmed my suspicion. Josh Allen is a Phillip Rivers that is much more mobile and has a better pullout game. Okay, let's face it. That's the truth. I don't think there's any way we can dispute it anymore. It's come to this. Josh Allen is Phillip Rivers. Okay, and now here's why I say that. Okay, Phillip Rivers, during the Chargers' big runs, he was a top 5 quarterback in the game. You could argue that. He was top 5, top 10. Josh Allen, top 5, top 10 quarterback. If you really want to stifle the guy, he's top 10. Okay, so add in then he's only made 1 AFC championship so far. Okay. Right. He's had talented rosters, and frankly, 2020 being the most talented roster he's had, to go and challenge Patrick Mahomes to make a Super Bowl and frankly win it. Okay? LA Chargers, go back to 2006, 2007. Phillip Rivers, 1 AFC championship appearance. He almost won the game on a torn ACL. The season before that, 14-2. Lost in the first round to the Pats. Okay? What this is becoming is not Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady like the media projected it to be back in 2020. What it's becoming is Phillip Rivers versus Tom Brady when it comes to Mahomes and Josh Allen playing in the playoffs. Now look, right. I know I'm going to take heat for it, but there's just so many striking similarities to this that I just feel it can't be refuted anymore.
Right. Well, you know what? I look at it this way, Brian. I think a lot of fans might have some truth to this. He did take some. I don't know if you saw when I think he was running the ball and then got tackled hard on top of his head. I think that might have had something to do with the impact of the rest of the game, because it could be a possibility that he was playing concussed.
It's possible, but I will say there are times he's had bad games or had bad starts, and let's face it, he never really recovered from it. And it's not even an injury standpoint. It's, turnovers, slamming the football down in frustration, getting that 15-yard unsportsmanlike call. So we tend to see this where he gets in his own head and he doesn't want to rebound from it or take a step back for a second He just wants to try to sling the ball 60 yards downfield and hope that he can break out of it that way. And he's got to stop doing that.
Week 1 was a very weird week as it was anyway, because it wasn't even Josh Allen struggling. We got to see. This is like the first time that I know of that the Bengals, Chiefs, and Bills, who are 3 of the top teams in the AFC, all lost.
Yeah. Now, another nugget. Sorry. I hope I didn't cut you off there. But I was gonna say another nugget to this. Mind you, in our season preview show, I had said this is gonna be a division where no errors can afford to be had. Okay, I'm not saying no. The Bills, again, I don't think this was an error as much as it was a hiccup, but it was a bad hiccup, frankly, at the wrong time. And I get it's week 1, but look at what Miami did week 1. Okay,
I know.
I'm just saying, like. Now, they could have a December collapse like they did last year. But, man, I mean, you want to talk about uphill battles. I mean, the Bills, last year I think they started out rough in the division last year too, right? Because they dropped in Miami.
Yep.
I believe they dropped one to the Jets, or they didn't drop any to New England, but I believe they dropped one to the Jets too.
No, because they beat the Jets once. They beat They swept the Patriots and beat the Dolphins once.
So
they went 4-2 in the division last year.
Now, like I said, I don't.
And mind you, that Josh Allen did struggle in those 2 games against the Jets last year. So,
well, let's face it, the Jets and Robert Saleh have built an incredible defense there.
Right.
Let's face it, that defense alone will keep them at the tail end of the wild card race. Now, we'll get into that more in the second half of the show.
Right.
But, man, like, I saw the perfect headline for this game. The Jets might have won. What is it? You might have lost the race, but you won the damn war or something. I forget. Man, I should have studied this before. I apologize.
The Jets may have won the battle, but the Bills won the war.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, they won the battle, but they lost the damn war. Is what they did, because, of course, we know who's out for the season now. But
right,
that defense, and again, this was an error that I told you could not happen.
Of course, if you look at this game, you can definitely tell that the Jets' defense helped win the Jets this game. And if it wasn't for the defense, I don't think that the Jets would have won 22-16.
But here's kind of my last question I'm going to propose on this end of it. Do you think that Sean McDermott has taken on too much, being the head coach and the defensive coordinator both at once?
I don't think so, because I don't think it was the defense's fault at all. I don't think it. Yeah, they gave up the points that they did. The defense kind of got rocked, but how tired was that defense because the offense couldn't do anything? I wouldn't say it's all blame on Sean McDermott. No. I wouldn't blame it all on Ken Dorsey. I would more so blame off of Josh Allen's decision making behind the play calling itself. Yeah, was the play calling all that great? Maybe not. But Josh Allen, this is his second year under Ken Dorsey's system, and he had a pretty good success last year. Why would you go into the second year under his system and just say, I'm just going to go out there and do whatever the hell I want to? No, you don't. This is the man that's supposed to be motivated. This is supposed to be a different Josh Allen from what they're saying. But this is showing me that the man and curse might just be real for Josh Allen type of thing after that game. because it looked pretty bad. And we've seen players that have been on the Madden cover and absolutely had very disastrous seasons. I would hope that that's not going to be the case for Josh Allen, but if he ends up having a bad year, you might have to say that the Madden curse is back. All right.
Well,
but other than that, I'm going to send it to you.
And before I get into mine, I want to talk about this story because, frankly, this is going to, I think, absorb the headlines for weeks to come. And it's not what's going on with the Bills on field as much as it is what's going on off field. Of course, I believe Rozier has sued the NFL for racist remarks and all this, and Terry Pegula was rumored to be quoted to have said, if the black players don't like it here, they can go back to Africa. And I believe Jerry Jones said a very similar statement to that, or is rumored to have said it. Now, I don't want to assume guilt, but
this is the only thing I'm going to say about it because I don't want to get a lot of backlash for it. If it is true, I will say that Roger Goodell needs to do the right thing as NFL commissioner and force them to sell their teams. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't think it's that easy because keep in mind when they tried to get rid of Dan Snyder, it took 24 of the 32 NFL teams to get rid of an owner, and not enough of them stepped up to get rid of Dan Snyder. So I think, though, and this is the one thing I like about the NBA. Donald Sterling got fired. Plain and simple. He got fired by the commissioner of the NBA. He was told, you are going to sell your team. Okay. I think we've got to have that in the NFL, where the commissioner... And I told you, I think it would improve his favorability ratings. Now, there's going to be people in this that are going to assume immediate guilt, because that's how society works today. I don't need to get political to say it, because, let's face it, we see it every day, where a man in power, without question, without assumption, is presumed guilty the second the first thing happened. Matt Ariza is a perfect example of it.
I know, and it sucks what has gone on with him, honestly. It just sucks that his whole entire NFL career is been over with on allegations that weren't even, know, that he wasn't even involved with.
But what I'm going to say is he not only proved it was wrong, but now he's going after this woman and her family for, essentially ruining his career, as he should. Now,
as he should.
I'm waiting to hear more evidence on this, but I will tell you that I think this is going to be a distraction now. And if you're the black players on the Bills, you got to be thinking it. Now, I don't want to assume guilt or assume not guilt, but I'm just going to say from the on-field product aspect, I think it's going to be a distraction, not just for the Buffalo Bills, but for the Dallas Cowboys as well.
The thing that sucks is that Buffalo had too many damn distractions and too many things happen to them last year. Why do they got to have any kind of distractions this year?
Yeah.
It just sucks. It just seems like there's always something going on the Bills. Mm-hmm. Like they have some curse on them that they just can't be, the team they go over the edge because there's something just lingering on them. I just don't understand it. I really don't. I'm hoping that's not true. I'm hoping it's not something that's going to derail their season or and everything just because of what happened. So I'm hoping that's not going to be the case, but if it is, it just it's going to be rough to see all year. It really will.
So, and I'll just leave it at that because we're getting short on time here, so I know we're already at 40 minutes, so I want to get moving on mine. We got to start with Coach Prime because I just love talking about Coach Prime, Coach Deion Sanders. The entire media was in Colorado this weekend. The entire ESPN team was down in Colorado. First Take was hosted down there. Pat McAfee show was down there, and a few others. Coach Prime goes on First Take with Shannon and Stephen A. And says, they asked him, what if you win a national championship with this team? He said, it's not what if, it's when we win a national championship. But he added at the end, we are 7 to 8 players. We are 7 to 8 good players away from winning a national championship. Now, I want to add in how much of a headache that Deion Sanders has been to not just, Colorado State that, or these other two teams that he's played so far, but he's been a headache in the recruiting game too. When he was at Jackson State, he was stealing top recruits from schools like Alabama, from Georgia, the big, the other big, like the big football Power 5 schools. So I'm just going to say this. It's not far-fetched. It's not far-fetched that he could win a national championship in Colorado.
I don't know. It's not that I don't want to see him having success, but you still have a lot of those good top teams that you would have to try to battle out just to even get there. I just don't know. I think it's still too early. I don't know if I can trust Colorado getting there. I think that they can go undefeated, don't get me wrong. But again, like we were talking about last week show, if they can beat those top teams, yes, I think that they can win it all. But if they don't win against a team like USC or any kind of those top teams, then no, I don't think that they are going to be a national champion at all. I mean, again, you have USC and Caleb Williams, who is supposed to be the top pick unless he goes back to college after this year, but you got a lot of those top players. You got, like a Clemson, like a LSU, like a USC. You have a lot of those top teams that you would have to try to beat out for a spot to even get into the National College Football Playoffs. So, again, it's not saying that I wouldn't want to see Deion Sanders having success. It could happen. But you have to beat out a lot of good teams just to even get there alone. So, I think it's still too early. Maybe they could be, and maybe they are about that many players away from being a national champion.
Well, again, and I'll double down how many, there are a lot of ESPN top 100 recruits that he has stolen from big, Power 5 schools that are in the playoffs every year. Okay, I'm going to double down on that because, look, I think that's significant. Now, I've said in the past on this show, you've got to give a college coach about 4 to 5 years. I'd even say 6 to get up to speed, to get the team that they want, the scheme that they want to run.
Right.
But, my God, Deion Sanders has a whole team that's ready to go. He had a lot of transfers from Jackson State, including his 2 sons. Shadur might just be in the Heisman discussion this offseason.
And who is his 2 sons?
But
Deion Sanders Jr. and
Shadur.
Yeah.
Now, my God, and not to mention, of the players he recruited, he's got them all buying into the system. Okay? Look at Nebraska.
It also helps that he was a great college and NFL player, so it probably does help that he already knows that kind of, worth of what is successful in football itself. So I guess that does also help in itself. But
when you have all 80 kids that are on your roster, and I know the college football rosters are much bigger than the NFL, so I think it's about 80, 90. So if you've got 80 to 90 players buying in, if you have 100% saying we are all in, we are going to do whatever it takes to prove it wrong. And now you've got coaches in your own conference that are attacking you on a weekly basis. Colorado State's head coach said this week, when I was a boy, I was taught when you talk to a man, you take your hat and your glasses off. And Dion went on record, and his whole team bought into it and said, this is now a personal matchup. Now, again, we're recording well ahead of the Colorado State matchup. But I assure you, man, if you are betting on this, you better bet over 40 is the deficit. Because if they are that into it, I'm telling you, if they keep buying into the system, look at last week against Nebraska. Do you think that 100% of that roster is buying into what Matt Rule has to say? Because I'm going to tell you right now, if I had to guess, it's about 60 to 70%, and you're going to see like 10 kids transfer at the end of the year. I really don't think at the end of the year, if I'm a betting man, that you are going to see any of those Colorado State players that can stay leave. Right. So I just want to say I think he's got it all in. I'm willing to make this bet right here and save this clip. I will save this clip. 3 years is all it's going to take. Within 3 years, Deion Sanders will win a national championship with the Colorado State Buffaloes. You heard it here. You heard it now. It's happening.
I was going to say, no, I think it's the Colorado Buffaloes because Colorado State.
Oh, yeah, Colorado. My mistake. The Colorado Buffaloes will be national champions. I'm not going to be Nick Wright and get a tattoo and say it, but I think that's going to happen. So, but in an effort to move this thing along, let me get to my Chargers now because let's face it, it was a disappointing game. A disappointing start, but I can't be that upset about it. We played, in my opinion, our best football except for that last drive. I mean, we were going toe-to-toe with the Dolphins. Frankly, I think we had the upper hand. And then Tua, we got to talk about this touchdown. Mike Davis one-on-one with Tua, or one-on-one with Tyreek Hill in the end zone. The ball is just placed perfectly. I mean, there is nothing Mike Davis could have done within the rules to prevent that touchdown from happening. Nothing, because he was draped on him. I got to say, Tua, and, he's taken a lot of heat and a lot of hate, a lot of jokes for the concussions and all that. But, my God, he came to play on Sunday. Okay, he came to play. He came to say, I'm done with the funny business. I just gotta say, my team, I hope we come out better week 2. We're not going to have Austin Eckler, more than likely. So, that's going to be disappointing. But, Justin Herbert, he played okay. The only thing I don't like is why did you play man-to-man against Tyreek Hill the entire game? That's the one thing I'm trying to just make sense of. Nobody in the league plays man-to-man against Tyreek Hill. And you allowed that guy to get over 200 yards receiving. You should have put you should have put Derwin back in double coverage. Because if you're playing man-to-man, they're going to audible, and they're going to tell Tyreek, go deep. The man's the fastest man in the game, and you allowed him to burn you that bad. So, I will say, for that reason, we deserve to lose. For that reason, I think that Brandon Staley should be even more on the hot seat than before. So, I will leave it at that as far as the game. I think it was a good game, but defensive calls screwed us.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, I feel at least, it was a battle between Herbert and Tua, and it was a good battle, but Tua just was, able to outperform Herbert, threw over 460 yards, and made it just just made it look effortlessly. But again, this could look like it could repeat like last year. Tua looked good to start the year last year, and then look what happened. So I mean, I can't buy into Miami. If they can do it all year long, maybe they can have a chance to fight for the division. But if they can't, then I'm going to say no. I can't trust this Dolphins team because I've seen too much of how this Dolphins team run. Yeah, they looked good in week 1. They looked good in week 1 last year against, I think, New England. So we'll happen to see what happens. But it was a good game. It was a great game to watch when we watched it.
Yeah.
I think it was probably one of the better ones to actually watch for the 4 o'clock games.
I honestly think the Eagles game was slightly better. I'm just going to say that. I think the Eagles and Pats played a slightly better game. But obviously we can't get into that today. But I will say the Chargers have to have a big rebound in week 2, and we'll have our picks a little later. I don't want to dive too much deeper into this because we're already almost at an hour. So let's get into our worst take of the week. Nick Wright left his ratings on quarterbacks this week, and instead of just doing tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, he turned it into Mahomes Mountain. He said everybody is chasing Mahomes. He is no question tier 1. Some highlights of it. He had Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts in tier 3 of 7. Josh Allen in tier 4. And Tua and Trevor Lawrence were the only 2 in tier 2. So
I don't like that only because, we don't know what kind of potential Tua has got because of all the injuries. Of Allen and his whole entire career should be at least tier 2, tier 3. But Mahomes Mountain, I don't like. That's a terrible take.
Trevor Lawrence is a little highly rated, don't you think? I'd say he's fringe tier 3.
I'd say tier 3. Tier 3. I would say it's more tier 3 than tier 2.
I just haven't seen enough out of him yet to say more than tier 3. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback.
Allen, Burrow, and Hurts. Allen, Burrow should be tier 2. Hurts, maybe tier 3, depending on
Hurts.
What you put in Hurts, maybe tier 2 because of what happened last year with him.
I think even last night, you got to put Hurts tier 2. I'm sorry. There's no doubt. I think that MVP race is coming down to Burrow and Hurts this year. So,
yeah.
But, okay, if you're going to put anybody at the top of the mountain, it's Joe Burrow. And I'm sorry. You know what? Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes are tier 1. Forget Mahomes Mountain. That's what gets me, is it's not Mahomes Mountain. Okay, there's a tier 1, tier 2. There's 7 tiers, but I'm saying Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes are number 1. Josh Allen's if we're going to do if you did power rankings, Tua is tier 2 after week 1. If we're just looking at this season, he's probably even tier 1. But if you're going to go on career achievements minus Super Bowls, Joe Burrow's tier 1. Josh Allen, I would say more tier 3, but he's definitely one that you could put in tier 2. I think he even had Dak in tier 3, which I don't agree with either, because Dak was statistically one of the worst quarterbacks last season, along with Derek Carr, and he had Derek Carr in there too. There was obviously the blatant obvious he had, which was Joshua Dobbs being well out of the tiers, same with there were a bunch of others he left out. I just can't think of them offhand, but congratulations, Nick Wright. This is your first, I'm sure, of very many worst takes of the week you're going to get on this show. And let me just tell you, real quick as a disclaimer before we move on, because I feel it's important. Okay. Look at our at least on my end. I can't speak for Jason, but on my end, when I rank people, when I say Joe Burrow is better than Patrick Mahomes, I don't say it to get clicks. I don't say it to get ratings. I don't say it to get you people to comment back. We have 31 subscribers, and guess what? I'm going to be truthful. We average, so far this season, about 6 viewers. Okay? And we average probably about 3 listeners. Now, I'm the guy who keeps track of the ratings here. Do you think that do you think of 31 subscribers, and thank you all for being a part of the journey. Thank you all for being here and watching every week. But do you think I'm doing this to, rile you guys up? Do you think I'm doing this to, say stuff for clickbait? I'm not here to do that. If I say something, 90% of the time, I mean it. There's the 10% of the time that, hey, okay, we're going to add a little bit of clickbait in here. Or, something that'll get you fired up.
For something like this, we always give our, actual 100% opinions on it. And you can take them or leave them type of thing. But it just, we've been doing this for 4 seasons now. Of course, we're going to have our takes on stuff like that. It just, how it works, how it happens type of thing.
But here's the thing. We're going to be brutal but fair, I think, is how we've done it. Exactly. And I think that's what we're going to stick to. These talking heads on FS1, these talking heads on ESPN, now they may be trying to be truthful and authentic, but there's a lot more of clickbait put in there because they're trying to draw ratings for their TV shows. We're not here trying to pretend we're something we're not. So, if you get that opinion or you're just sitting there laughing at what we're saying, just know, we're not doing it to make, if you find it funny, hey, you find it funny. But we're not looking to, get extra clicks out of it, If I upload to Instagram those clips, which I've done in the past, I do it because, hell, I remembered this week. I had time to do it. I'm not doing it for clickbait. Got to advertise somehow, right? So, with that, we got to get things moving. We're almost at the hour mark. So we'll talk quickly. Jones-Kelsey back for week 2. What do you think?
I'm thinking for a big week of the Chiefs. I think a big bounce back against the Jags. But I think it's going to be a good game. I
think the Jags are going to be out for vengeance. That's what I think. And again, I'll save my pick for when we get to it.
Last year, yeah, I would say so.
Yep. So, I think it'll be the game of the week right here. So we'll see. Aaron Rodgers, we mentioned it early, done for the season after the Achilles injury on Monday Night Football. He was on Pat McAfee today, and he said straight up, "I'm coming back. I'm not going out this way." So, good, bad. What do you think here?
Well, he's certainly not going to, ride the whole Brett Favre train and then, end up jumping ship from the Jets to the Vikings. I don't think the Vikings are going to be getting rid of Kirk Cousins, especially if he's going to average over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns a game. I don't think he's going to be leaving anytime soon. But, we've seen weirder things happen. But I think he definitely should at least play 1 more year in the NFL because it sucks that you only play, 4 plays and then get hurt. So I don't think that's entirely on him. It does kind of suck that had to happen. But, hey, you know what? If he wants to come back, he can come back. And he hasn't ruled out coming back for the playoffs if it happens. But that's a big if it happens.
They got to be flawless. That's the problem. I just don't know if they can be flawless. Again, I said
Can't
it. This division.
I just can't buy Zach Wilson. I can't even say that it was Zach Wilson that even helped them get this win in the first place.
It was the
Yeah, he threw
defense.
that pass, got lucky. Yeah, it was the defense that got them to win in the first place. And
No.
then, of course, the return, the kick return touchdown, too. But, hey,
Yeah.
the defense getting 4 turnovers definitely certainly helped.
I would say, and again, going back to what I said earlier, fringe number 7. That's what I would say. They're going to battle for the 7th seed, if
Yeah, I
nothing
could see
else.
it.
And I think that defense is good enough to get them to that number 7 seed. It's just a matter of Zach Wilson limiting his own mistakes and not being Zach Wilson. So,
Well, so, yeah.
so with that, let's make our picks. Let's go quickly through it. Packers, Falcons. Falcons favored by 1.5.
I mean, this is going to be an interesting thing. I might have to go with the Packers here.
I'm going to lean toward the Falcons. I think this is a matchup of two high-powered offenses. So, and I kind of like the Falcons one just slightly better. Raiders, Bills. Bills favored by 8.
Josh Allen usually after turning the ball over 3 times usually has bounce back wins. So I'm gonna say the Bills here. I think Josh Allen's gonna get it going, especially at home in front of that crowd. I think it's just gonna help, Josh Allen feel comfortable, get into the 2023 season. I think he's gonna have close to 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. So I'm gonna say a Bills win here.
Bills, and I hope that DeMar Hamlin's active. That I'll leave it at that.
It's a very rocky because you got Poyer and Hyde healthy, and you have Taylor Rapp as that third string. So I don't know if he's going to be, to be truthfully honest with you, he might be suited up for the game. I want to see he's going to be exactly playing in the game unless injury happens.
Yeah. Ravens, Bengals. Bengals favored by 3.
I'm going to say this now. I think the Bengals I think a lot of these teams that lost week 1, especially the top 3 teams, are going to get bounce back wins, and Bengals are going to be one of them. I'm going to say the Bengals are going to win here.
I'm going to say Bengals, and I think it's going to be a slapping. I think it's going to be a beatdown. I think 3 points is a generous thing because I think Joe Burrow's about to bounce back big in this one. Seahawks, Lions, Detroit favored by 4.5.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to probably go with the Lions here. I think that they got the team to be able to do it, and I think that the Lions are going to win here. It sucks for the Seahawks because, Seahawks aren't exactly a bad team, but the Lions, they got a lot going for them right now. Getting that victory against the Chiefs, I think that they're going to ride the momentum trade forward, and I think they're going to start 2-0 to start the year.
New look Lions and no more excuses, I think. So I'm going to say new look Lions. Chargers, Titans. Chargers favored by 2.5.
Yeah, Chargers going to get a bounce back win here against the Titans. Chargers all day.
Yeah, I'm going to go Chargers too. Bears, Bucks. Tampa favored by 2.5.
I'm gonna have to go with the Bucks here.
I gotta agree.
I don't think I'm gonna go with the Bucks here. I mean, Baker didn't look terrible in his debut for Tampa, so I'm going with the Bucks. It sucks to have to see them go 2-0 to start the year, but I think slowly that their momentum is gonna go downhill eventually. But hey,
I kind of agree. I think the the Bears lost to a very mid-Packers team. They got slaughtered by a mid-Packers team at best. So, Yeah, I'm gonna go Bucks. Chiefs, Jags, Chiefs are favored by 3.5.
You got a sort of, you got Travis Kelsey and you have Chris Jones back. I think it's gonna mean a kind of bad day for the Jags. I'm gonna have to say the Chiefs get a bounce back win on the road.
I'm gonna say the Chiefs too. I just don't think. I think the Jags will make it interesting. I just don't think they're gonna get a win. This one could be a battle for the basement. Colts Texans. Texans favored by 1.
I don't know if I like that the Houston Texans are favored here. I think I'm gonna go with the Colts. I mean, Colts. Indy didn't look terrible last week, honestly. Anthony Richardson, I think, he's got a hell of an arm. I think he can get this team going. I mean, I'm going to say Indy. Indy's going to get the road win here.
I'm gonna say the Texans. I think C.J. Stroud's gonna find it, but
it
it's
always
gonna.
seems like the Texans beat the Indianapolis Colts just somehow out of.
I agree with the odds. I just agree with them. So 49ers Rams. Oh man, San Fran favored by 7.
Ooh. I might have to go with the Ram. I might have to go with the 49ers, but the Rams always seem to give the 49ers their money, so it wouldn't shock me if the Rams get the win here. But I'm going to say the 49ers only just because of they're just an all-around good team.
Yeah, I got to agree, but I will say if the Rams win, I think we're going to be talking about a Rams resurgence.
I'm thinking not 7, more 3.5 for the line.
Yeah. Anyway, Giants Cardinals. I think we both kind of know who's going to get the win here, even though it's 4.5 for the Giants.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say the Giants.
Yeah, I'm going to say the Giants, but I think the Cardinals this will be their best chance to get a win. Jets Cowboys. Cowboys favored by 8.5.
Crazy. I'm sure they would have been a lot less if it was Aaron Rodgers at quarterback for the Jets, but now that it's Zach Wilson, it definitely went more in the Cowboys' favor. I will say that Cowboys defense ain't no joke afterwards, but they also did play up against a very mid Giants team. This Jets kind of got. I might. You know what? No, I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to say the Jets get a upset win against the Cowboys on the road.
I'm going to say the Cowboys. I think Micah Parsons and the Cowboys are riding high, and I think it's going to continue in week 2. Commanders Broncos. I think we both. Well, actually, not necessarily. Broncos favored by 3.5.
I mean, Sam Howell isn't too bad of a quarterback for the Commanders here. I think that Russ is cooking up a big pile of you-know-what. I think the Commanders are going to take the road win here and go 2-0.
I was thinking the same thing. So, we're both on the same page there. Dolphins Patriots. Dolphins favored by 3 on Sunday Night Football.
Dolphins always seem to have success against the Miami Dolphins, oh my god. Yeah, the Miami Dolphins always seem to have success against New England some one way or another, so I'm going to have to go with Miami. I have to see them go 2-0. But I think that they're going to do it. I think they're going to go 2-0 and beat the Patriots.
I think we're going to see an upset. I think the Patriots here. Because here's the thing, they just took it to the Philadelphia Eagles. If Myers got that second foot inbounds, it would have been a Patriots win. I'm sorry. I'm willing to put that out there. I'm willing to put money on it. So the Pats would be 1-0 if the wide receiver got the second foot in. So I'm going to say Patriots get the rebound win. Saints and Panthers.
It'd be nice to see.
Yeah, Saints and Panthers. This is the first of two
First
on
one
Monday
of
Night
Monday night.
Football. Saints favored by 3.
Yeah, I would have to go with the Saints here.
I think we're both
You
in
know,
unison here, too.
as much as I would love to see the Panthers win and not hear our buddy just,
Yeah,
talk his junk about the Saints, but
yeah. So anyway, Browns and Steelers. Cleveland's favored by 2.5.
to be truthfully honest with you, I wouldn't be opposed to Cleveland starting out the year 2-0 here.
Opposed to it, no. Reality, I want to say the Steelers.
I was thinking that too, but I don't know. I think that the Browns are going to come out on Monday Night Football wearing their all-white unis, and I think they're going to get the win. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
Myles Garrett is going to be a big factor of the reason why the Browns win this game. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
Pickett is going to have himself a very rough game like he did against the 49ers.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the
I think that I'm thinking that Pickett is going to get sacked quite a bit in this game.
Yeah, speaking of 49ers, they're playing the Giants. I think we both kind of know who we're picking on Thursday night this week.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the 49ers. Wow,
Yeah.
9.5 favorites. That's crazy.
Yeah, 49ers. Beginning of the rough Thursday night game. So with that, let's go to Tinkle on this. And this week, of course... Oh, hold up, I went to the wrong side. Patrick Mahomes, of course, had some stuff to say about the Aaron Rodgers injury. And, of course, we're going to get a little bit of an English lesson of why it's important to put commas down. Patrick Mahomes says, "I hate that man," without the comma between that and man. And everybody thinks he hates Aaron Rodgers for a good 30 minutes. Finally, he tweets later, "I never thought I'd have to use the edit button on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now." So Patrick Mahomes, tinkle on this, man. You may be one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the game, but you clearly don't. You clearly didn't pass English class.
And that's why you got to use commas, and that's why you got to tinkle on this there, Patrick Mahomes. You got to learn some sort of English, especially if you're going to be typing stuff on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And with that, comma, I'm gonna pass it off to you to ask what's coming up on No Final Bell.
Yes, No Final Bell episode 94 is officially out. Tensions seem to be rising as we head into Arthur Ashe Stadium Grand Slam. Dynamite and Rampage Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Holds over 20,000 fans. It'd be cool to go, but fortunately, just so short notice to have to fortunately go. I have to work as it is anyway, so I can't. But it is probably on a bucket list. But yeah, there's a lot of tensions rising. MGF, the Devil, has a very big target on his back, and Samoa Joe heading into Arthur Ashe Stadium for the AEW World Championship. There's 4 different title matches that are going to be happening. It is, the biggest televised event for AEW, that they always put on every year. So it's going to be a pay-per-view type feel. Wrestle Dream looks like it's going to be good too, heading into Seattle on October 1st. So definitely looking forward to that. But what's coming out on Turn 4?
Yeah, what's coming up? We got an elimination race in the Bristol Night Race. We got a new driver at Colic Racing we're going to talk about. And, man, the internet, I'm just going to tell you, you know how they figured it out? They zoomed in. So Colic Racing posted a picture of a handshake. and they looked at a freckle, and NASCAR Twitter went nuts, checking every driver's arm, trying to figure out who had that freckle, and they cracked the case saying it was Daniel Hemrick. Well, Friday, it was announced it was Daniel Hemrick. So, my God, NASCAR Twitter is a beast. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about other silly season news and get you ready for the round of 12 of the NASCAR playoffs. So that's all coming up. Tune in to Out of Turn 4, No Final Bell this week here on Tinkle Group Gaming, and we'll see you back here next Sunday. Till then, goodbye, everyone.